Well, happy Friday. Hello, everybody. I know I'm missing somebody, ain't I? Well, I tell you guys, my beautiful bride is very sick, and she has influenza or whatever, and she spent the majority of the last handful of days in bed, and so she will not be joining us tonight. So you guys are just going to have to deal with me alone, and but I'll tell you, we always talk about tribulation training and we talk about the lessons that we learn. Boy, have I learned some lessons in this ordeal. But before we do that, real quick, I'm going to get some hellos out of the way. Gizmo was the first one in the house. Good evening to you. The freest homesteaders I know, Hacks for the Homesteader in the house. They're down at the Kentucky Sustainable Living Conference down there. And I wish I was with you guys, but not meant to be. Unique Prepping's in the house. Good evening to you. And, B would normally do this part, but the greatest name on the internet. I'll let you guys answer that question. Welcome to the tonight. Sharpshooter, how are you, my friend? Let's see who else we got in here. One more rock. Good evening to you. Vicky Pullen, hello from Texas. As Eagle Lover, Texas. Texas is well represented tonight. Songs of Joy, good evening to you. My buddy Silver Linings in the house. Mo, what's up, my friend? Let me see. Dana Green, good evening to you. Life with Mike and Jen. Royalty are in the house. That's pretty cool. Oh, look, there's Gypsies. More royalty. Hell, man, we're blessed. Tom Shivel, good evening to you. Mandy Garrett, hello to you. And the Banquet of Consequences, good evening. Carrie Davis. Janine Minky. I know I always butcher that. Someday I'll get it right. Al Joe, good evening to you. RN, good evening to you. Mossy Oak Patriot, hello. Helen, hello. Pack Rat, what's it going on? And of course, the world famous Skanes girl is in the house. Oh, and JB popped in at the last second. So let's talk about B being sick, because I think it's everything we do in our lives, I think we have an opportunity to learn from. And I can tell you guys that it has been hard on me, and nowhere near as hard on her, obviously, because she's the one that's been sick. But it hasn't really necessarily been hard for the reasons you'd think. It wasn't doing the chores by myself. That's fine. Feeding myself. That's fine. All of that stuff, that's all perfectly fine. Getting her, the medicine she needs or whatever, that's all fine. It's all that. It's that, I ran myself into several situations where she needed something and I couldn't give it to her because I didn't know where it was. I wasn't as accustomed to it. That's not my role that I normally play. And so it really has left me feeling, a lot inadequate, maybe is the right word. And, I got to do better about that. I got to do better about making sure that I can give proper care to my wife, who I love, and not, feel so, helpless, in it. And, for those of you, any of you guys that are out there tonight and, you're sitting there with your spouse, tell them you love them and tell them you appreciate them and tell them that you don't take them for granted, because, when they're not available or they're not there, life changes dramatically. And it did for us too. Now, there's some things that we did very right, which are nice. We always talk about energy capital and, B being down. Managing the homestead was easy. We ran right through it, which was great. And, the normal stuff that goes on, but I never really thought about it from an energy management perspective about how I would feel helpless or how I would feel inadequate in being able to, help her the best that I could. And so, this has been an interesting thing for me. I'll tell you though, real quick on B. So the last 3 days have been pretty rough. She'd been pretty sick. Today, I finally seen some signs of my normal wife in her. She got up, she walked around a little bit, and I know she's still not feeling good, but I'm hoping tonight, I put her to bed, prior to this live, and I'm going to try to get her to take a nap, and maybe when she gets up and feels a little better, maybe we can watch a movie or, we can do something like that. Glenn's in the house. Good evening to you. Sure didn't miss nobody here. I think I got everybody. But yeah, I hope B feels better soon, and I will absolutely take the prayers from everybody, and I will pass on, to her from you guys all of the, get well wishes. And I've kind of got a feeling that she's up there laying in bed with the phone laying next to her ear, and she's listening to us talk. We'll see. I don't really know for sure, but I would imagine that that's the case. Terminator, good evening to you. But again, I want to stress to you guys, look over at your significant other, tell them you love them, tell them you appreciate them, and don't take them for granted, because life is super short. And, I learned real quick how inadequate I was, and I'll get better at that. I promise you. But, please look at your loved ones and tell them that they matter, because, they certainly do. Jane, good evening to you. And I'll make sure I pass on your message to B. Okay, so you see I drew a picture of B, right? So that she could be with us tonight. American Roots Farm, how are you? Again, another set of royalty in the house. So anyway, she's going to be with us either way because I want her there. Eagle Lover Texas says, so tag is vacation hard. Well, no, actually, that's the crazy thing about that, Eagle Lover, is what the duties weren't hard at all. That part's fine. That's just going out and feeding the cows or going out and, collecting eggs or whatever it is. None of that is complicated. It was really the other side. It was the mental side for me and feeling like I wasn't doing all I could do for her because, I know I give her a hard time, and I do, you guys. I mean, there was a time when she was sick. I told her that, the best thing that she could be doing right now is working on pod 4 and that, drywall therapy would be good for her. I don't think she didn't find me as funny as I found me, but, I absolutely torture her with those things. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is she's the greatest person I know. Hey, Bessie's in the house. Hello from the heartland. Hoss 14. Hello and good evening to you. Terminator said, I lost a nephew to cancer yesterday. I'm so sorry. Life's short, you guys. I always tell you guys on the channel, and it's probably the topic I take the most heat about, but I always talk about how love is the easiest of all things. And, it really is, because, again, if you really, truly love somebody, doing for them is not hard, and doing the things that make them happy is not hard. And you do it because it makes them happy, and because they're happy, you get some great sense of joy out of that. And, I love her a lot, and making her happy is not hard, and taking care of her is not hard, but me not knowing where A, B, and C is in the house, or, where this or that is at, makes it pretty difficult. Cheryl Seller, thank you very much for that. Life Mike and Jen says a bit of levity is important. Laughing does help sometimes. Yeah, she didn't find the drywall joke funny. I found it hilarious, though. RN says, tag, it's important to cross-train each other in what y'all do, so just in case one of you is not available. You know what, RN, this is a super good point. And, I thought we had this totally down, right? I mean, I knew exactly what to do for the chores that she did. It wasn't hard. I'm telling you, it was not even hard. We got those things done just fine. What I didn't count on was the other side of that, making sure I could take care of her properly. Right. So it's been an interesting learning experience for me. See, a Terminator said 43 years ago today, I lost the most important lady in my life, my mom. Yeah. How crazy. Yeah. All American, good channel. Go check him out. In the Fight says I'd absolutely be lost without my wife. Yeah, me too. It's so crazy how you depend on them so much. And, like I look for my wife for so much strength. And, she always says that I saved her life and that I'm her rock, but she doesn't understand that it's really totally the other way around. The only thing that keeps me together is my wife. Aljo says, it's the emotional stress that's different. Yeah, that's the part I didn't totally plan for. We don't get sick very much, and certainly not sick like that. So it'd been hard for sure. Gizmo said, maybe have an inventory and location of items. Yeah, the problem is that when you go through, Gizmo, what I went through, you move in a hurry. And I've got 2 shipping containers still full that we haven't unpacked, from 4 years ago when we moved in here because we're so busy building. And, I hate living in a construction zone. So I try to minimize that and, all of that stuff. And no excuses, but just still the same. It's certainly interesting. Hey, Spags Unfiltered's in the house. What's up, my friend? Yeah, I got some news for you, by the way, and I'm going to share it tonight. I talked to Patrick earlier tonight about it, but I'll talk about it in here tonight too at some point. Terminator says, tomorrow is my daughter's 43rd birthday. I went into labor on my way to my mom's funeral. Oh, my goodness. Jen says, Mike learned that when I was down after surgery, and I have him after his back surgery, I'm just not a muscle man and had a hard time doing the things he usually does. Jen, I think this brings up a super good point, and RN talked about this a little bit too, about everyone being able to do everything. Part of that, I think, equation is making sure I put B in a position that if I'm down, she can do it, right? That she has assists to lift up some of those heavy things maybe, or, we do some of those things to make the process of taking care of everything much, much easier. We've said all the time that we're not going to build a homestead that requires both of us to be here because then you're married to it and you never get any break. And in fact, we want it to be halftime for one person to be able to manage everything. That way, if someone gets sick, we're good. But at the same time, we can take time to enjoy each other, which is what's, the most important part anyway, because we're all going to die. But yet few of us get to actually live through it, right? And so I want to actually live. I want to love. I want to, have all of those things. And so I don't want the homestead to deter from that. Does this mean we're going to see a wood cooking video from Tag? No, you're not. You might be able to see a wood warming leftovers up video from Tag, because that's about the level of my my skills. Helen says, does B have a fever? So today she doesn't, but the last 3 days, one point in time in the day, she had a 102.4 temperature, and then it's kind of decreased, all of that. Yesterday, the high was 100. So I think she's on the mend, hopefully. City Greens, hello, and thank you for that. Let me see here. One more rock says, yes, it's very hard having to fill a man's shoes and going it solo. It's hard to fill a woman's shoes. There's things that B brings to my life that I just can't do. I just don't think that same way. I'm not that organized. I think that's what makes men and women complement, each other so well, one more rock. But it's hard to fill B's shoes. It's so funny. I think that mine would be so easy to fill and hers are so hard, but she probably, views it the same way, right? Well, I walked into a deep conversation. Belmento Paratrooper, how are you? Good evening to you. And you did, B's been sick and it's been teaching me lessons. Yep, no tornado sirens, thank goodness. It wasn't very long ago and we had a whole house full of people with a tornado on the ground. So, Squatchy, good evening to you. How are you, my friend? Spag says, well, yeah, their shoes are so much smaller. Yeah, well, that would be true as well. I too am still higgly-piggly from a tornado that took my home in March of 20. So Tag, I understand having no idea what you still have or don't have. I don't. Now, some of it we do, the stuff that we use every day, but there was some of it that she needed that would have made her life a whole lot easier that I just couldn't figure out. And, her mindset where she was in that moment, she wasn't going to think about it. And so it was sad for me a little bit. Yep, single steading is not for the faint of heart. No, I couldn't even imagine. Cheryl says, I hope she doesn't get what I have. Still coughing going on 14 weeks. Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. That poor girl. Hey, love runs rampant. Good evening to you. Helen says, B should have a tablespoon of honey every day. She does do quite a bit of honey. That's what she drinks in her tea. She's had elderberry. She's had, all of that normal stuff that I could track down, but there was some stuff that she could have used that I did not have. And, that's not good. Squatchy says, we are good. And if I understand correctly, hope B feels better. Yeah, we all hope B feels better. I need my, firecracker hot wife back. It makes my life a lot easier. And it is what it is, though, right? RN says, what is B sick with? So influenza, and but a good case of it. Like I said, she spent the first 2 days, she spent probably 40 of 48 hours in bed. We're on day 4 now, and I was hoping that she'd be done so she could join us tonight, but just not meant to be. There's a great lesson in that, learning where the holes are. Oh, 100%. And there's things I'm going to change now about how we do things that maybe make that just a tiny bit easier, and specifically if I go down, I'm super concerned that, that she can get through that. Squatchy says, just getting over a cough, scratchy throat, sinus, foggy head issues last week. Yeah, B had all of those. I still need to get some honey from B. Need to see if it helps my allergies. Spags anytime, bud. Anytime. She's got a whole bunch of it right now. So, and had a whole bunch more, but she had a good friend who really liked honey. And so some of it went away. Anyway, let me see here. All Americans says I've been changing things up a lot, trying to evolve my system. Well, isn't that though what freesteading is and homesteading is being able to adapt all the time and take the lessons that we learned. I've been kind of on a sob story tonight about how I felt inadequate, but the truth is I'm not down about it at all. I'm actually encouraged that I learned it. And then now I get to try to deploy it in a manner that makes her life easier and my life easier. And so not a bad thing at all. Jen says she's so blessed. And Jen, I know your family and I know you, and I know some of your guys' life, and you were incredibly blessed and on 100 fronts. Make sure you look at Mario and tell him you love him, give him a big old hug and a big old kiss. And you can even tell him it's from Tag. I don't even care. Prayers. If it was the C, I would say get her nicotine gum or patch. Studies have shown nicotine will get the C to let go. I've heard that as too. It's not COVID. So it's just influenza from as I understand it. Salty Dog, good evening from you. Let me see here. Unique says, I love the honey from bee. Oh yeah, she grows some good honey. Oh my goodness, you guys are on a roll tonight. Florida Mama Bear, good evening to you. Packrat says we had bare root trees to plant last weekend and I was ill and in bed the whole weekend. I felt so bad for my wife soloing it on the planting. But I mean, I think this is super relevant, right? What happens if the lights go out someday, right? And these are the situations that we're in. Do we have the things that we need to do comfort care for things like influenza? And you guys should have seen it. It was such a proud moment. When the community heard B was sick, my phone was just blowing up. Hey, do this. Hey, do this. Check this out. What about this? And can I bring you over some dinner? And, we had another homesteader bring over some amazing spaghetti. It was like a spaghetti loaf. I'd never had it before, but it was super good for me. And it was warm. It was the first meal I'd eaten in 3 or 4 days. And, people saying, hey, I'll bring over some Mullen tea. And, hey, I'll do this. And, hey, can I do this? And tonight, right before I got on this live, we had some very good friends of mine stop by to help me do chores. And it's just good stuff, guys. Just good stuff. Let me see here. Probably been said, but B looks a bit pale today. Are you okay, honey? Right? It's nice of you combed your hair tonight. Yep. See, she's prepared. Honey, lemon, ginger, and 1 garlic clove in Greek mountain tea mixed with chamomile. I'm hoping she starts getting an appetite pretty quickly because she hasn't eaten in a while either, Good job, Jen. Good job. Lily Eubank, good evening to you, says the thing that helps me is purple dead nettle. It's an adaptogen, and it grows like a weed all over the place here in Tennessee. I go cut a bunch of sprigs and make tea out of it. Cool. Hakestraw 54, good evening to you. Is B coughing? If so, is she taking antibiotics? So, great question. So she is coughing, and her chest hurts because she's been coughing so much. And so I took her to our medical center here. And many of you guys know this. We have our own kind of medical system here in the community. It's a direct care system. There's a doctor, got a clinic. They take no insurance. It's all cash. We pay a little fee per month. So anyway, she went and seen Dr. Jones. And many of you guys tonight who are in the chat know Dr. Jones because he came out and spoke at the Midwest Preparedness Project and some of those kind of things. But anyway, we went out there and he did put her on antibiotics today, which B has probably not been on antibiotics in 10 years, not one, because it's just not typically what we do. But it was time, for B to feel a little bit better. Let me see here. Leela says, I'm prone to pneumonia. Mullein and purple dead needle are magic. Yeah, we got Mullein tea was a big ask, in the community. Get that bone broth in her. If I could get her to eat anything, she tried a couple crackers today and then threw them up. So has anyone ever used a flow hive? We've looked into them, but I don't think that it's worth the effort, in my opinion. But don't take my word for it. I've never owned one. Love Runs Rampant says, all the things to do. A coughing so much could break a rib. Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Good antibiotics needed and zinc. Yep. She's been taking zinc amongst a whole bunch of other things. Most of it, though, natural. Pineapple is a bromelade, has bromelade and is an expectorant with vitamin C. Let me see here. Gregory says, with one of the Homestead partners is down, it certainly changes how the place works. Yeah, what's so crazy, Gregory, is I did not expect this, but the Homestead was the easy part. It was the mental part, and it was the emotional part, and the spiritual part, and just having her sick and not being able to, or not feeling like you're meeting enough of her needs. And I bet you if you asked her, she'd say I took care of her great, but I don't feel, like I did. LJC, how are you, my friend? Good evening to you. Hippocrates says maybe B needs some dessert. If I could get B to eat anything, I would drive whatever I needed to do. That's right, Salty Dog. B is here in picture form. I brought my bride with me in spirit. Let me see here. Hickshaw says the garbage going around our town seems to last 2 or 3 weeks at most. And RN says large doses of vitamin C works too. Yeah, and I've been trying to get juices in her and things with lots of vitamin C, but she hasn't been cooperating. I guess is the right word very much. She seems like she just wants to go to sleep. And yes, love runs rampant. She combed her hair. Look, isn't she beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. That's why I brought her to the show. A broken rib from coughing is the worst pain ever. Ask me how I know. Yeah, Yeah, combed. Yeah, I got it. She combed her hair, which is rarity, so she must be feeling good, right? Hello, Mississippi gal. Sharon, welcome. Let me see. In Texas tonight at the MVPA rally, Military Vehicle Preservation Association. Sharon, this is interesting. I don't know if you know this or not, but I lost my dad here 2 years ago to COVID. But he, in Vietnam, for one of his tours in Vietnam, ran the gun truck, the Ho Chi Minh hearse. And I have looked and looked and looked to try to find as many pictures as I can and any history that I can and all of that stuff. So if you ever have any tips on that, I would, definitely welcome them. Let me see here. B looks like she got Botox in her lips. Yeah, okay, so we'll start calling her Botox B. Yeah, half bubble off plum says her lips look a little puffy. Yeah. It's very difficult to see your love hurting. I felt so helpless and just want to take it away. Oh, I'd take the sickness every day of the week if I could take it. But just not, unfortunately, it's just not really how it works, huh? Hey, Starla Dope, good evening to you. I'm glad that you're here. All right. Well, since as we talked a lot about B, I'll get kind of off that, that whole soapbox and, focus on how in the world are we getting ready to cross $35 trillion in debt. But we'll get there, right? Oh, Sharon says, wow, I will look out for that with the vendors here. Yeah, super cool. It's called the Ho Chi Minh hearse. My dad was a machine gunner for a while off of it. And I have some pictures, but I would love to find more. It's crazy you wait till someone dies before those things become important. Because had it been more important to me earlier, I probably have been a little better off at it, right? Yeah, shame on me. Her lips are puffy from being sick and blowing her nose all night. Yes, Jess. Thank you. Good looking out. Right? Yeah, Kelly says, I hope B gets better. Yep, she will. Maybe she got stung on those lips by a bee. Maybe. Gizmo says, Tag, I want to thank you so much for encouraging us to get involved with the local government. It paid off big time for me this week. Good job. But you are so welcome. And I'm going to continue to encourage, but I'm going to tell you something. Thank you for being intentional. And thank you for doing something about it. Because I can preach all day long, but it don't come from me. It comes from you taking that step and putting that one foot, right back in front of the other. Good job. Unique Prepping says, fun fact, Botox was invented to help cerebral palsy. I didn't know that. Midwest Ribeye, good evening to you. Okay, Tag, you're doing a great job of taking care of B. I'm trying, and it's just hard for me. I just don't want to see her hurting. It just doesn't, I'd rather just take it and deal with it. You know how men are, right? Give me a solution. I want to fix it. But unfortunately, life's sense of humor doesn't allow that sometimes. And it's a good way of humbling us, Anyway, so what have we been up to? There's so much I want to talk to you guys about tonight. And I have lists and lists and lists. I don't know how much we're going to get through it since I spent 23 minutes and 36 seconds talking about my wife, but that's just how important she is to me. But first things first. So let's talk about what's going on around the farm. So if you guys have seen from my videos, I had this bulldozer sitting there for a while. It's not even mine, it's my neighbor's, but we got it up and running. And as you can see in the right-hand picture, we moved a bunch of dirt in the middle of the night out in front of where the community's building is going to be. So we're trying to flatten that whole area as to better accommodate people. So we get to work on that just a little bit. Now this was just prior to B, falling sick and then kind of had to stop all of that. I need to get back down there and get to work it someday, but got to wait for my bride to feel better. This is a great picture I wanted to share with you guys. What you're looking at, this is a 3-phase model EMP shield. And if you can see, it was blown into 2 pieces. And it was on an agricultural building, I think in Kentucky. And it took a direct lightning strike. And that's what it does to an EMP shield. The good news is it saved all the equipment. There was no damage. And that's me in the office at EMP Shield having fun one day, being a goofball. But I thought you guys would like to see that's what a billion volts of electricity can do. Now, I don't know if that lightning bolt was 1 billion volts, but they can be up to 1 billion volts. So whatever it was coming down that line, it just hit a line and it ran right into the building. And then it hit the EMP shield. And of course, the EMP shield stopped it. It did what it was supposed to do, but it literally blew it into those 2 pieces. Now, when I say blew it, guys, nobody freak out. It won't start a fire. It won't do any of that, but it's just so much pressure in there that they can come apart. But I thought that'd be pretty cool. And I thought you guys might enjoy that picture, because I don't know if I've ever shown those things with you guys, but I thought it was pretty neat. Helen says, you look like a doctor in that picture. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Jen says, wowza, that's amazing. Yeah, guys, look what that did. That's what, when you go, specifically for me, a guy who lives off grid, I have so much money in my power system. There is no way I'm not protecting it, because had that not been there, that would have done $1 million of damage to that plant had it not been for that device right there. And so that was pretty cool. Hey, Dorothy, good evening to you. Anyway, thought I'd just show it to you. Thought it was pretty cool. This is a big thing for us that I think is pretty cool, and you guys might not know why. But so the Buffalo Seed Company, as you guys know, I preach about how great they are all the time. But you guys see the first picture, the picture closest to me, says ground cherries, Aunt Molly's ground cherries from the Buffalo Seed Company. And that's the actual package if you were going to buy ground cherries from the Buffalo Seed Company. And what's cool is Bethany grew those. Those are my wife's seeds from our farm that now will get spread to 1 million different places, right? How cool is that? Hey, Spags had a really good point here. And I'm sorry, Spags, I'm so bad at these kind of things. Like I'm just bad at it. Spag says, use code MWPP to save $50 off an EMP shield and support the Midwest Preparedness Project at the same time. Look at that. Right? You guys are interested? There you go. $50 off Midwest Preparedness Project. Thank you, Spags, for bringing that. Again, I suck at that kind of stuff. So Jules said, I've always said that an EMP shield is the best insurance policy. It's cheap insurance too. Kelly says, it's great about the seeds. Good for B. Yeah. Well, what I think is so neat about it is we're going to impact farms, who knows where, right? And we'll never know them, and we'll never really understand the impact, but how neat is it that it's making an impact? And when B showed me that, she was just, so proud of that. And they are heirloom seeds, and they grow only heirloom seeds and land races and all of that. And, B will grow the same ground cherry this year off the seeds that she grew last year, which were off the seeds she grew, the year before that. So that we grew these, we grew calendrium, we grew tobacco, we grew Amish paste tomatoes, Cherokee purple tomatoes. I don't remember everything else, but we grow a variety of them, every single year. And then we keep part of the seed harvest to continue to grow, our seed bank, which I think is, super, super critical. But I just think it gets to touch, other people. Gizmo says, Tag, where can I purchase my EMP shield for my new home? I have 2 on my towny house, 1 on AC and 1 on DC. So you just go to the website, which is, if one of the mods can put it in there, www.empshield.com. Go in there, select your device, put in the discount code MWPP, Midwest Preparedness Project, and they'll earn a commission, which goes on to support the festival, and just buy it right there. Helen says, what's ground cherries? Well, it's just kind of like what it sounds. They grow in a little bush, and they're covered in those little wrappers right there, and they call them ground cherries. I really don't think they're really much like a cherry, but some people do. Gregory says they grow wild where he's at. But yeah, so just stuff that we grow. You see here, Tag, EMP Shield also gives a senior citizen discount as well as any other discounts, such as the Midwest Preparedness Project. That's correct, and a veterans discount, and there's some other ones that they allow everybody to stack. Jen says it's kind of like tomatillo, which I've never grown either. But Indiana Mike, good evening to you. How are you, bud? Let me see here. Oh, there you go, Spags. So there's the EMP Shield's website right there. And just go on there and put the discount code in, and we can support a great cause in the Midwest Preparedness Project, which, guys, I'm going to talk about a little bit later tonight, but have absolutely impacted so many people's lives. And it's just a great way to do business with your community. Let me see. Oh, sorry, Helen. Ground cherries taste like mango and pineapple mix. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't really feel they're good. but they don't remind me necessarily of a cherry. But you can, if you're curious about them, you can reach out to the Buffalo Seed Company, which grows regionally and bioadapted seeds for this area. They're all heirloom. They have a bunch of land races. They have all that stuff, and you can do business with them, which also supports a like-minded person in the community. And so there's a lot of wins there. So the Buffalo Seed Company. What do we got here? Oops, sorry. Hakesraw54 says, anyone familiar with wild gooseberries? Hakesraw54, I have thousands of them on my property. They grow everywhere. We rarely get any because the animals get them all, but super familiar. Bessie says, my ground cherries come back in the same place each year. They were wild. How cool is that? Yeah, Life with Mike and Jen said the Midwest Preparedness Project definitely had a huge impact on these two. Yeah, it's had a huge impact on me too. You know, I don't know what this means. Thanks, Spags. I tried to put in the Google address, but the damn thing's 800 characters long. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Yeah, is Midwest grown seeds? Yeah, can one of the mods put in the Buffalo Seed Company? If you just go to thebuffaloseedcompany.com, but if someone will put an email address or website address in here, make sure you tell them Tag and B sent you. We don't get anything out of it, but they'll just know that that we're promoting them, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to grow for them as time goes on. We used to pick and eat them gooseberries as kids. Yeah, we get them, but it seems like on my farm they get to be about I don't know, the size of a dime, maybe a little bit smaller, and then boom, they're gone. The more I watch this channel, the more I understand how important community is. All America Prepper, but there is nothing more important. It is more important than the preps you put up. It is more important than energy. It is more important than any of them, because at the end of the day, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much energy in the day. Gregory says the bugs like the cherries too. The Buffalo Seed Company. So there's the email. There's the website right there. Oh, Jules, thank you is another one. Yep. Helen says the Buffalo Seed Company. Yep. Nancy is the lady as the that we talk to most. But her and her husband grow it with their family, and they have a lot of farms that grow seeds for them. We're one of them, but we're very proud to be part of it because we get to make a difference in a seed that will handle water better. I told you guys this last year. All of our tomatoes we watered 3 times all year long, and we were in a drought because of the way we've grown them, and also because of the seed itself. Yeah, I've never seen a ground cherry. Must not be a southern thing. Yeah, I'm not sure where they grow. Total, I just know they grow here. They grow here wild. So pretty cool. But anyway, I thought you guys would enjoy that. Let me see here. What else do I got on here? So I know what's coming next. Okay. So I got a big announcement for you guys, and I've talked about it a little bit in the past, but I actually want to show it to you guys. So I have been asked to serve on a council, a nationwide council that will focus their attention on building those parallel economies and those countercultures and, food everywhere, and putting them in places that you wouldn't normally think. And so I thought I would show you the council that I'm going to sit on. It's right here. And so, that writing is super small. I wish I'd have brought that up here. I'm going to bring that up in another place here so that I can actually read it to you guys, because my glasses are not that good. Let me pull it up here real quick. Sorry for the delay. Where is it at? Well, I know it's here. So right there. Okay, I'm going to pull this aside so that I can actually blow that up. Zoom. Okay, I'm going to try to do this here anyway. Okay, so anyway, this council is going to have Pat Militek on it, who's a superhuman expert who not only won his own world titles, but also trained a dozen other world champions. And now his life is focused on building the best soil. Theo Fleury, who's an Olympic gold Stanley Cup winner in hockey, but now spends his time working on trauma and helping people who no longer suffer. Joe Soliton, I know I don't need to tell you guys who he is, but America's most iconic regenerative farmer, also known as the lunatic farmer. Mark Marjorie Wildcraft, the Grow Network. She's one of the female leaders in the preparedness movement. And then you can see number 5, that's me, tag. The next one's Lisa Mollison. And her father is kind of known as one of the original founders of permaculture. Charles Thompson is an energy expert and entrepreneur. McKinley is the founder of New Energy World and producer of sustainable construction and off-grid abundance. Doc Will Spencer, and this is a guy that focuses on things like anecdotal titles and, trusts and, things like that. John Baker, world's greatest health technology. As far as Bloomberg referred to him as the world's greatest health technology. Kevin Fritz, the CEO of Patriot Greens, and Jim Gale, the founder of Food Forest Abundance. And so what we're going to work on doing is trying to create these environments mainly in cities. And so now I would like to tell you that I'm working on these things I'm going to tell you about right now, but really I'm at a place where I'm learning on what I'm doing. But so right now there are negotiations going on with the Saudi Arabian government and the Ecuadorian government. We're in discussions about putting food forests in prisons and schools. And so I'm going to try to help them from the business side, which is where I will contribute the most to them, and see if we can help spread freedom in more places. I made the decision a few years ago that I was going to go take my fight national, and this is exactly what it means. And so I thought you guys might find that interesting. The cool news is I meet with them all the time, and we get to figure out, what's the best way, for us to spread freedom. And I'm super happy to be in the fight. Nitos, good evening to you. How are you, my friend? I hope I didn't miss somebody in there. But anyway, so that is something else that I've been up to lately, which has been taking a fair amount of my time. Real quick on that whole topic. So you guys know that I am also in the middle of trying to figure out how to put a food forest academy at my farm. And, it's funny. I've never really considered us to be permaculturists so much as, I like to think of us as more of responsible farmers, right? Because just the way we're more traditional, the way we do things, not traditional. That's probably such a bad word, because permaculture is probably the most traditional, right? But you know what I'm saying? We garden in rows. We don't use pesticides or herbicides. We don't use fertilizer. We, grow it as responsible as we can grow it. But they're working on this. So I had my first consultation with all the designers this week. And so first I have a question for you guys. And I'm going to go through some of the stuff we talked about, just because I think my guys might find it interesting. But if you guys are interested, I recorded the entire interview. And if you guys are interested, I would absolutely be willing to put out the interview I had with the designers about bringing this academy to my land. And maybe you guys can, gain something out of it. It's, 2 hours long, and lots of questions and lots of discussions. But again, if you guys are interested in it, tell me you are in the chat, and if I get enough people who are interested in it, I'll go through and clean it all up and get it out there. So what I want to talk to you guys about real quick is I'm not going to share all of them. I'll kind of blow through them just a little bit, but I want to talk about some of the questions that they asked me and see if this is, something that, again, you guys are interested in. So they kind of started out and told me to tell me about my overall vision, kind of what I'm looking for. And I just told them that I wanted to build a space to teach and encourage freedom and self-dependency and, food independence and water independence, and energy independence, financial independence, and health independence. They went on to ask about my social media presence. We talked about that. It was funny. One of the questions they asked me that I thought was just amazing. And because I look at things so much different than everybody else, or for most people, and you would think this would be a simple question, but they asked me if I had a budget for the project. And I'll tell you why I find that so funny, because it's this huge journey. When I decided I was going to leave the corporate world and I was going to go live off grid and I was going to grow all my own food, never once in my mind did I say to myself, what's my budget? It didn't matter what it was, right? I mean, it just didn't matter. I mean, I was going to go do it. And what it was is what it was, and we would figure it out. And so that was just an interesting question for me. Do you have a budget? And I'm thinking to myself, does it count? You mean from when I started, or you mean starting from now, or what exactly do you mean? And so anyway, that was fun for me. They asked me if I plan to meet most of my food needs, stuff like that. How many people will I be supporting? Which was an interesting question too. And I told them we have a large community and I would love to bless the community, the best way that I can, but that there was just who there was on our farm. And we have lots of visitors. They asked what percentage of your diet you want to come from the farm. We talked about that. Animal integrations. We talked about that we have bees and fish, the different kinds of fish and the different animals. They wanted to talk about mycology, which is something I don't really know a lot about. And so this is something I'm looking forward to learning as we go forward. Featured areas. They wanted to know if we wanted things like vineyards and meditation gardens. And I told them that a vineyard would be excellent, which is something B and I have always wanted to do. But I also told them that when I was at Galt's Landing with Jim Gale, when you walk through their food forest and you just keep walking, eventually you come to this big opening. There's a monument in the middle, and it's of a fist in the air holding another fist that's holding a baton. And it was very, 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 very powerful to me. And I told them that, that I really liked, those kind of things. And so we'll be interested to see what they come up. Again, they're in design now. This question was super fun too. They asked me, how much time can you dedicate to maintaining your property daily, weekly, or seasonally? And this is a super great question too. And of course, me being the person that I am, I said, this sounds like to me that you're asking me an energy management question, because the question, how much time can you dedicate to maintaining your property? I could dedicate 65 hours a week. Nothing else would get done, but could I? Sure. And so I talked to them about, for me, it's about energy management. Every hour that I don't have to spend maintaining something is an hour I get to spend doing something else, which, on the farm, living as a homesteader, living as an off-gridder, there's no plumber to call. There's no electrician to call. You have to do it all. And so I asked them to create their engineered plans of what we're going to do going forward. Of one of the fundamentals of it will be energy management and low maintenance. I think that getting people to install food forests and these things, I think the more less energy intensive it is, the more success we'll have, in spreading it across the globe. I'm going to get to some questions real quick here, just some comments, because if not, they'll blow by me and I won't get them anymore. Pocket's Garden says, budget is always one of the first questions in a good permaculture consultant. Yeah, it was just so interesting. Chris White says, pay as you go as you can. Yeah, I mean, it's just, let me see here. Yeah, I got a lot of interest. That's good. Let me see here. A meditation garden would be my dream, Jules said. Jules, let's build it, man. I actually have this idea. I've got some big logs I've been saving because I want to try my hand at chainsaw carving. And so I think I'll carve some stuff up for it too. Time to dedicate to the project to start and maintain. Again, typical permaculture initial consultant question. Yeah, it's weird for me because that's not cookie cutter to me. I look at it, just again, totally different. One wants to easily run it, not have it run you. Exactly. And then you get into the stuff tonight, B's been sick and B hasn't been feeling good, right? We've got to make sure that one of us can run it at 50%. I think long term, or it just doesn't make sense to have it. Let me see here. They asked me what was the longest amount of time that I planned to be away from the property. That question made perfect sense to me. They said, do you have the skills to do the things you want to do, and what do you enjoy doing? And you guys know this about me. I'm a pretty handy guy. So there's very few things they're going to be able to put on me that I won't be able to handle myself. But they asked me also what some new skills you'd like to learn. And, we talked a lot about, I'd love to get to a place on my homestead where I can begin to tinker. I love to tinker. Love it, love it, love it. I haven't been there since I've been out here because there's always something that needs my attention, but I would love to be able to spend time learning things like biogas generators and, wood gasifiers and, some of these other things, and just dip my toe into. I think they really liked that I wasn't afraid to go down the road. So I'm super excited about that. They also said, how much contract or hire help would you like to employ? Designer, installer, educator, maintenance, etc. So the designer, that's already done. The installer, I'm actually hoping to use our community here, maybe with a little bit of help from them, but mainly our community here to put the entire thing in would be my goal. RN says, tag, you have frozen on my end. Is anybody else having a problem? Is everybody else reading me okay? Nito says, hubby and I were just out walking around the food forest, have several fruit trees blooming, nitrogen fixer bushes budding out, and daffodils blooming. Pretty cool. I'm wondering if I'm froze. Oh, no, Chris Wright says I'm okay. Yeah, Love Runs Rampant says good here. All right, I'll keep going then, because in case I was, frozen. We talked a lot about areas for food preservation. As you guys know, B already has a full-blown processing kitchen, although we're going to put another one in the community building. Let me see here. Area for modern methods, canning, dehydrating, freeze drying, etc. We talked about that. Areas for traditional methods. Would I be interested in learning how to preserve with salt, oil, sugar, smoke, drying, root cellaring, fermenting, things like that, which I'm open to any of them. I don't really know much about any of them, but would certainly be open to doing it. Let me see here. Tell me about the site and the elevation. So I kind of broke down to them the elevation I'm at, what my dirt's like, that kind of stuff. I won't bore you guys with all of that stuff. They want to know about my water sources. I have 4 ponds on my property, plus large rainwater capacity and wells. And so we talked a little bit about that. Let me see here. Not frozen, but the windows behind you keep changing from light to dark, back and forth. It's weird. Johnny says, is B okay? She doesn't look so well. Yeah, she's a little pale, as they were saying earlier, Johnny. Conserve friends, good evening to you, by the way. Johnny, good evening to you. Hope I didn't miss anybody. RN, did I say good evening to you? I think I did. If not, good evening to you. Okay. Let me see here. Where else are we at here? Features. So they want to know if we'd be interested in water features. And I told them I'm, obviously open to anything that we currently swim in our ponds now, and I'm not opposed to it. They wanted to know a lot about access, walking paths, roads, those kind of things. So I kind of broke all that stuff down to them. They asked me what the structures that were on the area right now and what we plan to build. Let me see. Location for point of sale, design studio, office, and customer restrooms. And this was actually a funny question for me, because I don't really intend to sell anything, and that's not really my goal in all of this. So that stuff wasn't very important to me, but we did talk about bathrooms and those kind of things. They asked me if I liked the way my property looks outside. And I said, other than living in what I feel is like Sanford and Son, because I have pallets of building material everywhere, I love it. What do you want it to the look and feel to be? And I told them that I wanted it to scream freedom. And let me see here. And I'm telling you guys these things. I'm down to, there's one more page and I'll read it to you, but I'm telling you guys these things because then when the design comes out, I'm going to share it with all you guys, right? We'll be able to talk through it. And I think it'd be pretty cool. They want to know if I wanted privacy between the demo area and my residential site. And I said, yes, I did. And then they started asking questions like, what, do you have any HOAs, homeowners associations or restrictions? I'm like, no. They asked about permitting. No, and all that stuff, which was fun. Underground utilities. No. But anyway, it's pretty cool. Talked a lot about wildlife, what we had. They wanted to know about hours of operation, which doesn't really apply to me. Retail, are there any other services? And then they asked me if I'd be willing to attend a permaculture design course, and of course I am. But anyway, so those are the basic questions, and again, there seems to be enough of you that are interested. It seems to be enough of you that are interested that I will publish that video of the interview they did with me, talking about these kinds of things. You see here, if anyone is looking for a good, cheap food grade salt with no additives, then look for Morton's canning and pickling salt in a box, usually stocked next to the ice cream. Yeah, Skanes Girl says, tell them that doesn't exist in Taganistan. Yeah, I should, huh? Chris says, sounds like they are thorough in their questions. Yeah, we spent 2 hours talking yesterday evening, and it would be pretty cool. Design look would be great. Always fascinates me what other people's sitemap looks like. Yeah, I am super excited about it. B's probably more excited than I am. And Jonathan, for the record, we never one time even talked about squash. You should be ashamed of yourself. All right, what do we got here? Should we keep on keeping on? Let me see here. All right, let me see here. I could not deal with no homeowners association. I'm sure they would not deal with me. Yeah, I wouldn't buy anywhere that I had to live by someone else's rules on my own. You say that, and then we pay taxes and do it anyway. So what the hell do I know? I mean, that's a hypocritical statement apparently. But yeah, RN says love the Taganistan comment. Yeah, when we were at the last Midwest Preparedness Project, they put up a sign that said Taganistan, and it's been a joke ever since. I don't know why they pick on me. Like, I don't pick on them ever. I just mind my own business and be calm, and then people pick on me. Maybe that's why. You guys think that's why? I think that's why. All right, let's see what's going on in the news, huh? All right. So this was super, super interesting. So NBC News came out with a couple papers that I found was interesting. This is just 6 hours ago. So many of you probably haven't seen this yet. But NBC News says U.S. prepper culture diversifies amid fears of disaster and political unrest. Todd says, liar. Life with Mike and Jen says, bah, ha, ha, getting deep in here. Ha, tag doesn't pick on anyone. Nobody. Thank you, Jules, for sticking up for me. The number of preppers has doubled to about 20 million since 2017 due to more people of color and progressives joining the community, experts say. Brooke Morgan surveyed booths at the Survival and Prepper Show in Colorado that were stocked with boxes of ammunition, mounds of trauma medical kits, and every type of knife imaginable. A self-described 30-year-old lesbian from Indiana, Morgan is one of a new breed of Americans getting ready to survive political upheaval and natural catastrophes, a pursuit that until recently was largely associated with far-right movements such as white nationalists since the 1980s. So just so you guys know, if you were prepping in the 80s, you're a white nationalist, just so you know. Okay, so everyone's clear. Researchers say a number of preppers has doubled in size to about 20 million since 2017. Much of that growth is from minorities and people considered left of center politically, whose sense of insecurity was heightened by Donald Trump's 2016 election. The pandemic, more frequent extreme weather, and the 2020 racial justice protest following the murder of George Floyd. This is a great question, conserve friends. The Wallapini will be a centerpiece of the design. So they're actually going to make me do it quicker, probably. Let me see here. Laugh out loud. I use squash and other vining and ground cover to shade the roots of my fruit trees. Let me see here. If you're not picked on, you're not loved. I agree with that. 1.7 trillion budget vote today. There's a reason. Oh, guarantee you there's a reason. Eagle lover gets a star. Look at all those buzzwords. Oh, yeah. I think it's absolutely fascinating how, if you guys remember back when Trump got elected and the prepping kind of movement kind of died off a little bit. And the excuse was, well, it's because Trump was elected. Now they're saying that it's now Biden's election, right, is the reason all of these people are getting involved, which I think is super fascinating. Yep, that's because everyone's finally waking up. It's interesting that they had to mention race. I know, right? Yeah. They always mention race to divide us. Yep. Calling BS on that. Yep. Mostly peaceful protest. Yep. Or some just realized that Granny was right about good food and the junk that is offered in today's markets. Preppers now, I thought they were hoarders. I know. Isn't that interesting? Well, I found something else interesting. In this exact same article, they showed me this. And they said that this was the spike in preppers, which happened to be March the 8th through the 14th of 2020. So my question is, doesn't this contradict what they just said? Because this whole spike of preppers would have been during the Biden administration, not during the Trump administration, according to their own information, right? I just found out that a far left person I've known for a bit was a prepper. She said she started watching prepper channels to see what the conservatives were planning and realized there was good info. Interesting, LJC. I had a good friend of mine send me a series of texts this week with a client that they had, which I'm going to share here in a little bit. And I won't share their name because I don't want you guys to know who it is, but because they may not want that. But I'm going to share some of the messaging which lines up with this a little bit, which I find super interesting. My granddad lived to be 100 and grew his own food till he was 98. Yeah, I wondered what happened in 2000. Ding, 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 ding. That's right. Right. And with all the craziness going on in the world. So the same day, right? So 6 hours ago, they put out this article. And guess what else is out at the same time? Why more Black people are looking for safety in gun ownership. The rise in hate crimes and anti-Black Vitriol sparked a 58% increase in Black people purchasing firearms in 2020. The spikes seem to have continued. They are just dense. They are just dense. And yes, and did they all just stop prepping again because the chart goes back down? Right. I love how totally contrary, right? That graph is when the grocery stores were wiped out. Yeah. Well, they said that was in the article. What they were referring to is people prepping. So maybe they put the same one together. I don't know. Let's see here. I'm going to check my next slide before because that's a whole new topic. Anyway, I found that super cool. I'm going to go forward here a little bit. I'm going to skip around a little bit because I just want to share with you guys that text because it lined right up with it. Where is it? I think it's right here. So on the right-hand side, and then I'll get out of this and I'll go back to my other page, but in the black writing, this is the text that I got earlier this week, and I just thought I'd share it with you guys because it kind of lined up with what they were talking about. But it says, interesting thing, my patient was supposed to have a surgical procedure done tomorrow, and it was canceled today, among with all other surgeries. The patient asked why, and the scheduler said because of insurance. The patient then asked if it was related to the cyber attack, and the woman replied, I think so. The patient then mentioned it to her wife, who is a counseling psychologist. The wife said, yes, I've been getting email alerts with various insurance companies being hacked, so don't use them because they're offline, blah, blah, blah. So then this patient and I start talking about the world, and it turns out that this liberal, lesbian, Democrat former judge is a prepper, and we find out that we have all this stuff in common. So in summary, we never know who is a prepper by outward appearance. Politics and things are really shaky behind the curtain. You guys have heard me say this many, many times. There is so much more that unites us than what divides us. I got to find where I was at all the way back in the beginning. Oops. Oh, my goodness. Almost there, guys. Sorry. All right, that's where I'm at right there. Let me see here. Gee, maybe it's because of all of the newcomer crime wave. I believe the Mandela effect kicked in into 2020. Oh, that's insightful. That was a great TP haul. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to wipe out my local grocery store from boneless beef tips at 8 a.m. Well, if you're going to wipe one out, right, that'd be on the list. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's interesting that prepping is now a acceptable thing because of political corruption and because of racial divide and because of climate change and become all of these. But if you did it prior to the Biden administration or the Trump administration, you are a white nationalist. Just saying. So if you're a white nationalist, you better check yourself. All right, let's keep trucking. Russia acknowledges, and this was just 10 hours ago, for the first time that we are at war. For the first time, Russia has officially recognized its involvement in the state of war, shifting from its previous characterization of the conflict in Ukraine as a special military operation. This acknowledgement comes amid increasing Western participation in the conflict, as stated by Dmitry Peskov, the spokesperson for President Vladimir Putin. According to the reports from the Russian news agency, Peskov's statement marks a significant departure from Russia's long-standing narrative since the onset of the conflict, December 24th, 2022. Pretty crazy. Johnny, you're going to get yourself in trouble. United we stand. Guys, I'm telling you, there's so much more that connects us. And, I could absolutely get along with any political position. I could get along with any religious position. At the end of the day, just don't be a dick. It's just not complicated, and we don't all have to believe the same thing, but there is a ton that unites us. The world is an absolutely mess, i.e. Russia admits they're finally at war, right? Yep, Nito says, I guess by their standards, I'm guilty. Yeah, and by their standards, I would be as well. My son just started working at Costco. I strongly recommend he make friends with the butchers. Yeah, good call. Nat Geo made them look crazy and people laughed at them. Flash forward to the COOF and everyone was one, then back to normal, and now they're back at it. Yeah, rhetoric, total rhetoric. The Wall Street Journal then, just not long after that article, came out with Countdown to Nuclear War Review, Apocalypse Deferred. I cut out the first paragraph in it because it really wasn't relevant. But basically they said, no such luck. The need to think the unthinkable has returned with Vladimir Putin's veiled threat to launch nuclear missiles if Russia feels alarmed by the West's response to its invasion of the Ukraine. Meanwhile, it's reported that Russia is thinking about putting nuclear weapons in space, while China is rapidly expanding its own nuclear arsenal. In the Middle East, there's an increasingly urgent concern that Iran will develop nuclear weapons and use it on behalf of the geopolitical designs. So where is the world headed? What is the balance of nuclear terror? And they go on to talk about 2 books. But I think what's so interesting about this, and I'm going to show some more stuff, is that you don't even have to dig. I mean, all of the articles I'm going to show you tonight, or pretty much all of them, all came from today, yesterday, this week, right? I don't have to dig very far, to find these kinds of things. And I think it tells you a lot about the temperament and why people would be prepping, right? Whether they are a lesbian judge or, a 1980s white nationalist. After today's terror attacks in Moscow, I wouldn't count out nuclear war. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I've actually got a little bit of stuff in here, Jules, on that. Let's see here. Let's keep trucking, huh? Okay. Today, so this came out 3 hours ago. Okay, from the Daily Mail. Yeah, Johnny, there were some big attacks in Moscow. We'll talk about them tonight. I got some info on that. Anyway. Most Americans, again, according to the Daily Mail, most Americans expect to see World War III this decade, report reveals. Americans by a wide margin expect to see another world war this decade, and they're pretty confident they'll be on the winning side. Fully 61% of U.S. adults said that a third world war was likely in the next 5 to 10 years, a YouGov survey reveals. Respondents felt assured that America and its NATO allies would defeat their most likely foes, Russia and China, right? Got to make a bad guy, of course, right? And it's amazing to me, these articles. So they talked about Russia and China. Taiwan confirms U.S. troops 18 hours ago have landed on Chinese claimed territory. Things may be heated up around the Strait of Taiwan as China continues to rattle its sabers over the island nation. And now the U.S. has stepped up its presence in the area. Taiwan has now acknowledged that it is hosting U.S. troops on some of its outlying islands, a fact that is sure to infuriate the Chinese who claim Taiwan and all of the surrounding islands. The country's defense minister, Chang, would not offer many details on the U.S. troops, but did note that the presence is among the islands around Kinmen, 3 miles off the coast of the Chinese coastal city. 3 miles from a Chinese city. Crazy. Let's see here. I've been too busy working the past week, haven't come up with news at all. That's why we do a Friday Live, right? Even though I don't really cover the mainstream news. I cover the weirder stuff. But sometimes I wonder if they're packing all these people into the U.S. to nuke us and wipe out as many people in the world at once. Well, I think it's certainly nefarious. ISIS claimed it. Chechnya spelling is still active. Oh, there! I didn't know that ISIS claimed it. I had not read that yet. Have to pass the $1.7 trillion bill. Yep, that's right. Got to fund all this, right? Got to go to war in China and got to go to war in Russia. And, got the border and you got all the craziness going on. Yep. I'm not among that large majority. America and NATO are going to get their asses kicked, says Jules. Thank you, Bessie. Let me see here. Oh yeah, sorry, they're talking to each other. My fault. I think they are there. Just hasn't been. I think we are there. Just hasn't been declared. And our descendants will look back and ask, why didn't they see it back then? Cyber, food, illegal immigration, inflation, etc. Yeah, Jen, I think this is a super valid point. And never there's been a time in history where so many things, where such a small spark could send waves, such distances. We've got to protect everyone else's border, but not ours. Yeah. But I want you to know the good news is you all can rest great tonight, knowing that the American troops on the Chinese border, U.S. denies reports of troops being on China's doorsteps. America denied it. It can't be true. Fearmongers, I swear. Big Kid says, good evening, by the way, Big Kid. We're paying over $300 billion just in interest now on the national debt. Yeah. I got some slides kind of on, not exactly on this, but on some of this later on. Listening from the kitchen tonight, get together tomorrow. Wonderful. I'm super glad that you can listen to the Friday live and be productive at the same time. Yeah, consider who gave us ISIS. Yeah, there's a story there, isn't there? Let me get out here so I can see what my next slide is. Oh, yeah, the Russian thing. Let's talk about that real quick. So this was the article that we were talking about. So Russia, gunmen fire in a crowd at concert hall in Moscow. At least 3 gunmen, which I seen pictures of at least 5, for the record, fired into a crowd at a concert hall, which was seen in flames. People are still trapped inside the burning buildings. Several gunmen fired shots Friday at the Crocus City Hall, a huge concert hall on the western edge of the Russian capital, Moscow, local news agencies report. What do we know about the incidents? The state news agency RIA said at least 3 people dressed in combat fatigues fired weapons, leaving some people dead and wounded. Meanwhile, Interfax reported up to 5 people were involved in the attack. Unknown persons opened fire at the Crocus City Hall. The evacuation of people is underway, emergency services said. Let me see here. But they are just a JV team, according to Obama. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So check this out. So here's actually pictures of the gunmen. In these pictures, it was all on a video. And so I was trying to get to the frame so I could see it firing. You can actually see the firing coming out of the top picture and the bottom one there. But what I found something super interesting. If you go back to the article, they said 3 camouflaged people were in there. And according to these pictures and the pictures that I seen 5 people, and I don't see any of them in camouflage. Just saying. You see here, our government is really frustrating me. They point fingers at everyone except themselves. Well, of course, they can't be wrong, right? They're the almighty, right? This is why the public school system is the way that it is. You know, we're taught to treat the state. This is why they don't like religion. This is why they want Christianity out of everything, because they want to be the God. The Moscow attack sound like a Democrat attack. MO just saying. Yep, CIA guaranteed, Dolores. I'll say it. I don't care. Let me see here. When you point a finger, there are 3 pointing back at you. Yeah. So I think it's nuts. And I don't know. I mean, again, they were talking about ISIS are taking claim for it. And I don't necessarily know that that's that they actually did it, or if they're just taking claim for it, or how that will all work. But that's certainly an interesting twist on it, because I would have for sure thought it came out of Ukraine. Or let me see, the story would have been that it would have come out, but maybe they don't want the heat, but they wanted to blow it up anyway, which is why let's just blame ISIS. We've been blaming them for everything else anyway, and we can control them, so that's probably fine. Yeah, who knows? Who absolutely knows? Anyway, so that's going on tonight. So I hope that people are okay, and it sucks. You know, loss of innocent life sucks everywhere. Guys, I promise you, the Russians, those people, they're human just like the rest of us are. You know, the people in Ukraine are human just like the rest of us are. You know, the problem is you get these people up at the top that believe, you know, that their lives are worth more, and that their agendas are worth more, and that all of us are disposable. And as long as we continue to play the Democrat versus Republican thing, and as long as we continue to buy into the system and use their services and become dependent upon them and become a slave to the easy credit system, and as long as we don't grow our own food, and as long as we rely on them for water, they're going to continue to win, and they're going to continue to pick this path. And at the end of the day, we probably won't have any say in it. Let me see. I didn't know that. Zelensky blamed Putin as an inside job. Yeah. Guys will probably never know the truth, right? All right. What else we got? So this was pretty interesting to me. So the top one, so Supreme Court Justice Jackson just said that she decided COVID was a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, and therefore federal government coercion over communication platforms was allowable. And they're talking about the, banning TikTok and those kind of things. Tucker Carlson went on the right-hand side to further say that in a classified briefing this afternoon attended by officials from the Biden Justice Department, AOC claimed that Elon committed election interference in 2022 by changing the algorithms on X to alter the results of the midterm elections. Not coincidentally, the anti-TikTok legislation now being debated on the Hill would allow the federal government to force the sale of any social media platform that interferes with elections, just so you know what's coming 2025. But what I think the person that summed it up the best is Chris Ann Hall. And for those of you guys who don't know Chris Ann Hall, look her up. She is an absolute firecracker. She is a former liberal turned constitutional attorney, and she's a badass. But I loved what she said in reference to this, talking about the bill to ban TikTok. Control of property is ownership of property. When the government controls property, people own nothing and are enslaved. If you think this bill only controls foreign-owned business, remember that is what they said about the Patriot Act. It's just a pretext to get you to agree to your own bondage. It is just a pretext to get you to agree to your own bondage. Man. Zell is an actor, even if he wasn't a very good one on stage, unless he was wearing tights and makeup. Yeah. Yep, she's absolutely the best. Yeah, I've had a chance to meet her a couple times, and I have watched her speak a couple times. And Chris Ann Hall, she's got it going down. And if you guys, anybody who don't know who she is, you should look her up. Again, she's an absolute firecracker. I love hanging out with her. I don't know her super well, so we're not, best buds or anything. But one of these days, I think we need to get her down to speak at the Midwest Preparedness Project if I can talk Bobby and Patrick into it. Yeah, there you go. Remember, no is a complete sentence. But the thing is, how do you say no to something like this? Because they're going to pass it. And it has nothing to do with TikTok. Guys, did you guys know that several years, I think I talked about this on the live before, but several years ago, they required TikTok to move all of their servers into the United States anyway. And that's already happened. Right? And just like, Chris Ann Hall talked about, remember the Patriot Act, it was only for terrorists. Right? So the justice does not want free speech and absolute government control. That's how I read it too, Gregory. Absolutely how I read it too. All right, what else we got? Oh, here's a good one for all you Canadians. I put this in here just for you, Terminator. This one's just for you. Canada to incorporate social scores in banking. The Canadian banking system is set to be radicalized by open banking framework. Proponents are framing this in a way for banks to easily share information and access user data. The truth of the matter is that this is an opportunity to merge social standings with banking to provide government complete control over finances. The organization Open Banking Excellent, which is a World Bank partner that originated in the UK, claims that it will host all of the bank's relevant needs in one place. The organization, which has reached 40 countries, guys, 40 countries. So this article is talking about Canada, but this organization now in 40 countries, okay, aims to create exceptional platforms and content that promotes knowledge sharing, new thinking. Super important, right? New thinking and partnerships within the industry, catalyzing the adoption of open finance and data for better financial inclusion worldwide. Guys, the CBDCs, the social credit scores, they're here. RN, good evening to you. They are absolutely here. And again, this article was March 14th. So this was just a few days ago. Let's see what we got here. Johnny says the Patriot Act was for we the people. Right. Yep. I believe she also talked about the Agenda 21 when it came out. I attended a seminar she did at our Patriot meeting. Oh, I'd be interested to hear your take on that. If you ever get bored and want to send me an email on what you took from that, I would be super interested. Yeah. She doesn't have an Adam's apple. Let me see here. Anyone with 2 brain cells can see that the social media ban will be used just like all the other overreach laws that have been implemented. Absolutely. And it will just continue to grip us and continue to grip us and continue to grip us until we get up and do something about it. This is why I always say hiding behind the scenes is it's out. It's done, you guys. We got to get involved. And we got to get involved at our local level. We got to get involved, build a YouTube channel, get out there, speak the message, go speak places, build community, create your own systems. This is the only way out, in my opinion. Kelly Island says a lot of commercials popping up tonight. I'm sorry. Johnny says, I got a 780 FICO, but somehow I think my credit score is in default. Yeah. Isn't that funny how we allow people who are now in days, we're going to cross $35 trillion in debt, and they give you a credit score. They teach us to monitor your credit because they want it to be important to you. Manage your credit, manage your credit. And these are coming from the people that are $35 trillion in debt. We have to be insane. We have to be insane. How does anybody buy this shit? Man. Tag, the only thing I do with the bank is pay my bills, and I pull the rest of the money and pay cash when I purchase. And that will work great for you until they remove the cash, right? Which is absolutely coming. Sorry, but it is. All right, what do we got here? Oh, so this was super interesting. I don't know if you guys will think it is. So I was listening to just the internet while I was working, and someone had said that there's a doomsday map out there that lines up pretty well with the land that Bill Gates had purchased. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Let's go look at it. So if you see that map of the United States, this is the doomsday map they were talking about, and what would get flooded and what states would get flooded. The map underneath it is a map of the land that Bill Gates owns. And so if you look at it, there's a lot of his land that would be very, very protected. Obviously, the ones in California, now there's still some places of land in California in those high mountains that maybe that's it. He's going to lose everything in Louisiana, probably some in Arkansas, and probably some on the coast. So I don't know that this lines up that well. So I thought, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this just one step further. Let's go look at some other landowners. And so I pulled this up. It appears that the dry territories in the United States, such as Montana, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Texas, are all very popular regions for the wealthiest individuals. Billionaires such as John Malone, currently the largest landowner in America, owns 2.2 million acres, including Wyoming and Colorado. Well, it looks like some of Colorado's under and some of Wyoming's under, but some of it's not. Okay, let's continue. Ted Turner, 2 million acres in Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, and North Dakota. I would say Ted Turner, all of Ted Turner's land's good to go. Phil Anschultz, 434,000 acres in Wyoming, and most of Wyoming looks okay. Amazon's Jeff Bezos, 400,000 acres in Texas. Most of Texas is okay. And Stan Kroenke's 225,000 acres in Montana. Those look okay. These guys have all amassed major land. Upon further research, many billionaires are preparing for future escape plans with vacation homes in remote locations. Pretty interesting. I don't know that the Bill Gates story lines up because it looks like he's going to lose a fair amount and a fair amount's going to be safe. But anyway, I thought I'd take a look at it, and I thought you guys might find it interesting. At some point, the debt interest will supersede the GDP, and it will, 100%. I never made a credit score because I refuse to follow that system. I think it's crazy how they get us trapped into the worst case of slavery ever, right? The debt system that we use today is what enslaves us. This is what creates one. There's a lot of things, but one of the major things that creates the slavery. And then they want to reward you with gamification. It's like getting on Facebook and you get a thumbs up, you get a heart, you get an emoji, you get a happy face, except they use a credit score to allow you to play that gamification. Pretty silly, huh? I bet BG isn't counting on solar micronova. Sucks to be him. Yeah. Let me see. Can we get a link to that map, please? If you just Google doomsday map, it comes right up. Marla, by the way, hello. Good evening, Marla. Yeah, just Google doomsday map. You see here, the system was founded on credit. Get it now, pay for it later. Yeah, get it now and serve later. Right? Because the worst thing you could do is leave your job. The worst thing you could do is stop putting into the system that they created. Right? Young, get you in school, right? We're going to get you in school and kindergarten, and we're going to teach you, buy a bell. Everything's going to happen by a bell. You're going to follow orders. You're going to learn to memorize tests, not become intelligent. You're going to get out. You're going to go to college. We're going to get you in debt. So you got to go to work. Once you go to work, we're going to have you work there 40 years. As soon as you're done, how fast can you die? Because now you're a burden on the system. I wonder if they will put up with squatters. I bet you they'd have a few too. Yep. Credit score equals control. If you don't have credit cards, you have bad credit. That is correct. Helen says, I told them I'm going to have a portfolio. Yeah, portfolio. Yep, you are very welcome, Marla. Let me see. Yep, seems the map and Mr. Google Pants knows. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they made the, combination that Bill Gates' land lined up with this doomsday map. And I just thought I would go check it out and see if there was, anything to it. And I think you could make the case that some of it is, but some of it isn't. So he clearly didn't make all the purchasing decisions based on this map. So I think it has a hard time holding water, but we'll see. Tag, I got a letter the other day. It was from a company I worked for 6 years ago. Apparently last fall, all of my personal info and other workers' personal info was taken. They told me. Lovely, right? Lovely. Have y'all hit on the recent possible military recall of retirees? Yeah, I did not find anything on that when I Googled, or not anything substantial, but I did have some people send me messages on that. But Big Kid, if you find something, I'd love to see it. Our debt system, developed in Babylon thousands of years ago, perfected by the U.S., and they have perfected it. Yep. We won't live long enough to collect the amount of Social Security we have paid in. I would have preferred to take that money and invest it on my own. Heck yeah. Even if you live long enough to get it, Janet, even if it's around when you're at that age, you're never going to get out of it what you put into it. Ever. Right? You're supposed to be putting that money in and earning interest and having excess, when you get to retirement. You'll get a fraction of what you actually put into the system. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this one was actually sent to me by my beautiful bride while she was laying in bed. So she was reading an article about taxes over the last 60 years, the taxes that have come to us. And so it's account receivables tax, airline surcharge tax, airport maintenance tax, building permit tax, cigarette tax, corporate income tax, death tax, dog license tax, driving permit tax, environmental fees, excise tax, federal income tax, unemployment tax, fishing license tax, food license tax, gasoline tax, gross receipt tax, healthcare tax, hunting license tax, hydro tax, inheritance tax, interest tax, liquor tax, luxury tax, marriage tax, Medicare tax, mortgage tax, personal income tax, property tax, poverty tax, prescription drug tax, provincial income and sales tax, real estate tax, recreational vehicle tax, retail sales tax, service charge tax, school tax, telephone federal tax, telephone federal, provincial and local surcharge tax, telephone minimum usage surcharge tax, vehicle license registration tax, vehicle sales tax, water tax, watercraft registration tax, well permit tax, workers' compensation tax. And not one of these taxes existed 60 years ago. And my bride's point was that at that time, it was one of the most prosperous nations in the world. We had absolutely no national debt, had a large middle class, and mom stayed home to raise the kids. How absolutely crazy is that, right? If your parents, I just added this little note in here. If your parents made $80K and you were born in 1990, you'd have to make $246K in 2024 to have the exact same life. I wonder why. Now, this also doesn't include the hidden taxes of Obamacare, right? The hidden taxes of inflation. And we'll get into that. Let me see here. Where am I at? You can do anything you want in the United States as long as you fill out the correct paperwork. Yep, and pay the tax. Hey, John Mosman Productions is in the house. Hello. I got to do a live with John and Zach from Unique Prepping this week. I hope you guys had a chance to check it out. It was pretty cool. Helen says, America, tax, tax, tax. Yep. Let me see here. Jules says, I've never been able to terminate. I got a dozen of those letters from various companies over the years. Oh, I must have missed the first part. Yeah, John, it was nice to meet you too, bud. Oh, goodness, where am I? Here we go. Kenny, how are you? Good evening. Says Tag, with that doomsday map, what percentage of the population would be lost? This is actually a great question, Kenny. There are all kinds of estimates out there, and it depends on what causes that, doomsday, map. But there's estimates out there that over 90% of the populations would be gone within the first year. But again, I think it just kind of depends on whose opinion you're hearing. And, there's several different maps out that show several different things. There's an EMP map out there that shows the population decline after 12 months of an EMP. That doomsday map, I would argue that almost everybody's dead. Because if you can imagine what would have to happen to the earth in order to create that map, I doubt it's just a slow, melting of the ice caps where it rises slowly over time and everyone gets crunched into smaller and smaller places. I would imagine that it would be, chaos, but I don't know, Kenny. Let me see here. I don't even understand why they need taxes when they can just print money up like they've been doing. That is such a good statement. So let's ask that question. Why do they tax us if they can just print money forever? Because the fact of the matter is they can print money forever. So why do they tax us? I think that's an absolute wonderful question. And I think the answer is because it's what gives credibility to the system. If they didn't tax us and all they did was printed money, nobody would want $1. Not that a lot of people want it now, right? But I think them taxing us keeps us working, keeps us going, and validates their system. Let me see here. Sorry, what's there? I believe they said something like 60% the first year. Yeah, I've seen it as high as 90. Hey, we have the Midwest Preparedness Project in. Yep, life's good. I've got a slide in here about you guys coming up here somewhere in it. Yep, because Uncle Sam said so. Yep, 100%. They tax us to control us. Yep, all in God's timing. Well, and you guys, it's all about control, Mandy. That's correct. And I mentioned that this is only some of the tax because what this doesn't count is the other taxes that they just don't call a tax, right? And the Obamacare would be one of them. But another one that we could talk about would be inflation. And inflation is nothing more than a hidden tax. Inflation really isn't the value of a particular product increasing so much as it is the falling of the dollar, right, that caused it. So I found some of these super interesting. If you look at the top graph, federal and state and local tax revenue as a percentage of GDP. So if you look, the very first, you guys probably can't read it because it's super small, but way at the very beginning is 1792 and it goes all the way to 2016. And if you look, the first way back in the 1700s, all they had at that time was federal tax, right? You almost don't see any blue or any white. In about 1816, you see the growth of the local taxes, right? And they grow a while till you get to about 1870, and then you see where you begin to see some of that gray color in there. And then that kind of trucks along with not a lot of growth, right until the time you see that first big bump. And that first big bump's World War I. And then the second big bump in reference to all three colors, that would be about World War II right there. But if you think about the American Revolution, all the way back at the beginning was fought over a lot of reasons, but one of them was taxation without representation, was fought over a 4% revenue, and when you're talking about the GDP. And now, if you look all of that all together, it's well up over 40%. How crazy is that, right? If you look at the graph on the bottom left, it talks about government revenues as a share of national income, right? And it shows basically a lot the same story of the one above. The other one is individual income taxes. This breaks down the taxes. So the green line on the bottom down there is individual income taxes and how they've rose since 1934 to 2009. So that's your actual income tax, okay? The yellow one is your Social Security taxes. This is what's being taken out of payroll. And so income taxes and Social Security taxes, right? So what does that really tell you? Well, that's, middle class, right? That's middle class people are those top. Can you guess what the blue and the red is? The blue is corporate income taxes and the red is indirect taxes or excise taxes. Lovely. Isn't that just lovely? All right. There we go. Instigator says tax is a way to get you in arrears and thus legal leverage. That's absolutely right. And I love the way you say that, legal leverage. Yeah, because that's a legal stroke, right? I talk about stroke. You should see what we are going through to do state testing at school. It's absurd the hoops they're jumping through for federal dollars. Yep, John says taxes work hand in hand with printing money to make it currency, making it flow but not accumulate. It's how they keep people spending and versus saving. I agree. We talked about taxes and the Stamp Act on my show last night. Good. Keep talking about it. Talk about it as much as you can, right? I mean, it's our job, to get out there and spread it. A tax is collected every time the same vehicle is sold to someone else. Not just when it's sold. They want me to pay property tax every year I own it. By the time you're done, you've paid more in taxes than you ever did for the vehicle. Big Kid says, I got a $3,000 bonus, 1.7 thousand take home. Tax me harder, Daddy. Planting trees with Uncle Sam scam. Yeah. It tells me that taxation without representation is theft. Guaranteed right it is. That's why Democrats like minimum wage increase, because it's a tax increase. I hate the minimum wage argument. You know how to fix minimum wage? Get rid of it. Make McDonald's compete with Burger King. Because minimum wage was only designed for those entering the workforce anyway. I remember a Doomsday Prepper show in 2010 era say planning for an economic collapse because the national debt was 12 trillion. Yeah. I was watching it today. We're going to cross 35 trillion here shortly. It's like 34.5. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. What else do you want to talk about? So we talked about the taxes increasing, right? But remember, we talked about the other taxes, inflation. So here's your buying power of $100 over time. I thought you guys might find this interesting. So $100 in 1990 will buy $39 worth of goods today. If you look at that graph, right? So let's do the conversion in $1990. So $1,000 in 1990, it takes $2,374 to buy the same amount. So for those of you mathematicians out there, right? If that's the case, and your tax that we're paying now is 59% of your income, and yet you're losing money at a rate of 59%, which I think that's what this was over time. 59%, it went down over that period. What are you really being taxed? Right? So add up all your taxes and then calculate the decreasing value of the dollar. And what you will do is you will finally agree with me that money is the land of make-believe. That it is just absolutely 100% the land of make-believe. If Jules says the national debt goes up 1 trillion every 100 days, but you know what? Very soon it will be every 50 days. And very soon after that, it'll be every month. And then very soon after that, it will be every week. And by the time we get there, you won't be able to buy anything. The best wage increase would be to do away with income tax. 100% agreed. It's unconstitutional anyway. I'll tell you what, though, the one I'd be willing to fight, John, more than an income tax. In fact, I would sign up to double my income tax if I could get rid of property tax. Because property tax, in my opinion, is the one thing that ensures you'll never be free. It's the one thing that ensures that you never actually own it, right? Because don't pay your taxes and see what happens. I wonder what I got next on my slide. Oh, this is a good one. Some local Kansas news. New $4 billion Panasonic electric vehicle EV battery factory in Kansas now requires so much power that the facility will need its own coal plant to run. And you cannot make this shit up. Yeah. I liked old Cowboy here, which is why I put it in there. He said, you can't sell electric cars if gas is cheap. Yeah. So build a coal plant to make a battery factory. We're geniuses. Absolute geniuses. You know what that tells you? Is that it's not about them. This isn't the motive, right? Absolutely crazy. All right. What else we got here? Kansas agency reports loss of service amid national outage. And I only brought this up because there have been a lot of cyber attacks that have been going on. And, you know, I showed you guys this text earlier. I brought this slide up once before, and the patient was actually talking about how the surgery had to be postponed because of the insurance companies, and it was a cyber attack that was causing all of that. And then boom, right after that, the water systems become vulnerable to cyber attacks. NSA and EPA warned governors. United Healthcare Group cyber attack timeline overview. So we're being hit almost every day from cyber attacks. And I think it's really, really important that we pay attention to that because, guys, I'm going to tell you something. That grid goes down, we're in big trouble. Nothing's going to work. Water won't work. Obviously, your electricity is not going to work. Your credit cards aren't going to work. Your debit cards aren't going to work. You're not going to be able to check out at a store. Going and trying to buy chicken food at Tractor Supply will not be possible because that whole system will be down. What's Haycross say? Haycross says the Bible says a day's wages for a loaf of bread. Yeah, day's wages. Could you imagine that? John says property tax is a way to have leverage over your property, and I think it's wrong for them to raise the value of it just to collect more taxes, but that's exactly what they do. You know, the government, guys, this is, John, I applaud this statement. The reason the housing prices, all that stuff went up is because the national debt's going up so much the government's scrambling. Well, here's a great way. Let's just drive property prices up. We'll collect a whole lot more revenue. That whole lot more revenue will cover our theft that we've been doing. Right? It will cover our embezzlement and our money laundering and all the craziness that we do. And Helen says property tax is theft. It absolutely is. So income tripled from 1990 to 2024, while the deficit tripled from 2010 to 2024. Right. Scan Girl says the internet's been super sketchy here. Yeah, there's been a lot of people I've heard that have had internet issues. A day's wages for a loaf of bread, must be shopping at Panera. Yeah. Hey, there's my buddy Eric, Porterhouse and Till. Hey, you guys want to learn how to build compost? You want to learn how to be creative? Porterhouse and Till is a great channel. Eric's a super smart guy. Welcome, bud. Says cybercrime is the leading industry in America ahead of the oil industry. Not a joke. Yeah. Midwest Preparedness says, did we already talk about the eclipse and the National Guard posting? No, but there are articles out there talking about, I think it was in Illinois, Indiana or Illinois, correct me if I'm wrong, Midwest, that said that they're posting National Guard troops for this solar eclipse that's going on, which happens to coincide with all the cicadas being released and happens to coincide with a whole bunch of things. I'm going to make popcorn and watch it, but we do not. What do you think about it, Midwest? Give me your rundown. Oh, was it in Oklahoma, he says? Yeah. Tim says, plant fodder trees now. Amen. Plant lots of them, right? Let me see here. Rent up on because of taxes. I think it was going to put a freeze on rent, but not on property tax. Yeah, property tax is so egregious. So money does grow on trees, huh? Fruit trees. Well, I think you could absolutely say that. Oklahoma Guard and a biohazard cruise, says Jamie. Jamie, good evening to you. I didn't hear about the bio stuff. I need to read that up. Let me see here. Even people who don't own property are affected by property tax. Well, of course they are, because they just pass it on. If I own a house, I'm renting you, and my property taxes go up. Guess what else is going up? Right? Let's get rid of this here. Oh, here's some more cyber stuff. This is pretty cool. I say pretty cool. So I went and looked and just Googled cyber attacks and just pulled some news articles just to show you guys. It's not, none of these articles are from very long ago. You know, the longest one's like 11 days, I think. But U.S. Federal Reserve lists CBDC as, this is the CBD stuff. Sorry. Take it back. Rewind. We were talking about CBDCs. This is why I pulled these up. U.S. Federal Reserve lists CBDCs as one of the key duties, warns pro-crypto congressman. Sweden's central bank releases final report on e-krona CBDC pilot. Fed Powell says digital dollar anxiety as nations ramp up CBDC efforts. Liberia is working to build CBDC with blockchain. Putin signs, this one surprised me, Putin signs CBDC digital asset payments bill into law. Israel announces CBDC with interest-bearing features. UK considers faster payment shutdown. Brazil moves ahead on CBDC. Hong Kong Central Bank announces new wholesale CBDC project to support the tokenization market. Isn't it crazy? All over the world. And I purposely put things in here that would have been on opposing sides, right? So it's not like just the West is doing it, right? I got China in here. I got Russia in here, Israel, UK, Liberia, United States, and Sweden. Isn't that just lovely? Let me see here. And a good plan. People should sell their overpriced houses and use the cash to buy land. Yeah, American Roots always says, and they preach to me all the time, buy diamonds, not dirt. I mean, buy dirt, not diamonds. It's been a long week, American Roots. I apologize. Buy dirt, not diamonds. School shut down in Ohio and telling people to stay home and have 3 days of supplies. So weird. Over a eclipse. I don't get it. They have issued a state of emergency in some of the eclipse areas I read. So crazy. It's an eclipse. I don't understand what they think is going to happen unless they think people are just going to be crazy, which certainly could be. Right? So once we get the cyber attacks, and then they're going to do a massive cyber attack, I think, and then they're going to attack all of the financial institutions, and then you won't be able to get your money, and then the government's going to come in and they're going to say, we're going to save the day with the CBDC, right? And then not long after that, oh, hold on, let me get to some of these real quick here. Hold that thought. Curious thought. If there is so much cyber hacking going on right now, why would the governments want everything online? Because maybe they're behind the cyber attacks. Maybe they really want a one world government. Maybe that's what this is really all about, right? I mean, I think it's interesting how the whole CBDCs are being worked jointly between Russia and America and all that. Everybody found it interesting that the Russian send American astronauts into space, and I promise you, it's not as we see. The overcrowding of people flocking to the total areas, says Eagle Lover. Because they have something planned. That's why, right? The Chinese give diamonds to Hunter to buy dirt in the U.S. Oh, man. Well said, Mo. Well said. The first time we are kind of protected from EMC, and they are saying we should prepare. Yeah. Think about it, Tag. Mass illegal immigration, constant news about threats, et cetera, and not fear of the eclipse. They are planning on something. Weren't stupid. Gratitude to Grace. Hello, welcome. It says, issue with the eclipse. Influx of people going to see it will overload the area's grocery stores and no one can get along anymore. Yeah, that's what I read too. Was that right there? I think the eclipse is a good excuse for our government to create more havoc. Yep, Jamie says, I agree. I love this channel. Found it when you were live with Reality Survival. Well, cool. I like Reality Survival. He's a good guy. Him and I need to do another one of these days. But Jamie, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Dolores says, none of these warnings in 2017. Jen says, we got a heads up to be aware of the tourist influx for the eclipse in our area. I'm going to charge to park in my front pasture and sell glasses. You go, girl. Entrepreneurism, right? Before she got sick, her and I were talking about this. You guys read about this? The geofencing? Oops. I didn't mean to get out of that. Sorry. Geofencing. So geofencing, for those of you who don't know, is a GPS global positioning system, RFID, radio frequency identification, Wi-Fi, cellular data, or combinations of all four technologies to determine the location of a device being tracked. Geofencing technology and apps can do things like notify you when your children leave school, set an area for your teen, is allowed to drive in or is designated areas where they are not allowed to go, combined with smart home systems to control lights, locks, and the temperature of your home. They are working on introducing geofencing in smart cities. This is how they will keep you within 15-minute radius. This is why they need us to transition to EVs. I think this is just such a great point that if we can get to a central bank digital currency, if we can get to an implant, anybody want an implant, by the way? If we can get to all EV vehicles, if we can get to where everything's controlled to the internet, they'll 100% control you. You'll have absolutely no chance to think for yourself, right? Let me see here. Tag, did you ever read 1 Second After Sweekles? I've read them all. Yep, it's actually the 1 second after the first one was pretty prolific to be my wife. She really loved that book. And we have done a couple interviews at EMP Shield with William Forstchen along the way. Mandy Garrett says, someone posted this in a small town about an hour from us. Arkansas Department of Emergency Management said it has confirmed 1.5 million visitors in the state from 40 different states. Wow. Wow. Oh, my God. Yeah, Helen says, oh, my God. Yeah, right. Yeah, no mark of the beast. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe the government will use the eclipse to stage a fake alien from space attack to scare us into martial law or something. Kelly, I love you. Yeah, great books. G. Johns has got it right. It's for our own protection. It's for the greater good. It's for the greater good, right? What is American Roots? American Roots, what is this, bud? Not sure what that is. Anyway, the Bible says those who take the mark will break out in sores. Let me see here. That's a link to a book about the Federal Reserve. Okay, cool. I'll put it back up there. Yep, I'll leave it up there here for just a little bit. But I mean, I think all of the pieces are in place on how they will control, right? This is super, super easy. If your car, if they set, the space for your car, you're not supposed to leave. It'll just shut off. You won't be able to go, right? Makes me want to get out of my big truck and gas powered and head off down the road, right? Jules said it best. We're from the government. We're here to help. Yeah. Life with Mike and Jenna. Wow. I don't know what to make of all of this. Just hope everyone behave and be safe. Just stay home, Mandy. I think that's one of the best ways, right? Invasion riots erupt after migrant swarm breaches U.S. southern border, the National Guard. Well, you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that. Good job. Good job, John. Ed, what a great comment. Ed, good evening to you. Says, anybody asking how Arkansas know there's 1.5 million coming? I want to hear an answer on that, Ed. Ed's a badass. Biden administration blames Republicans for Texas migrant stampede video. Right? A reporter witnesses absolute chaos as migrants from the migrants storm the Texas border. A reporter who witnessed the migrant stampede at the Texas border said the situation escalated into absolute chaos in a matter of seconds as adult males charged the National Guard troops. A New York Post reporter recounted that what unfolded in El Paso on Thursday. So this was yesterday, explaining how hundreds of migrants were able to breach the border area, and some were able to stampede the guardsmen and overtake all of their resources. This is a very important phrase, all of their resources. To me, all means all. So I think this would be a great excuse as how military weapons got in the hands of the cartel or whatever that's coming across the border. And they warned us about it. If you remember back on March the 21st on Thursday, we told you that they overtook all of the resources, right? Yeah, I think this is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. But John, good timing. Good timing to ask that question. Gregory says, I know some parents who use this technology to track their family now. Ugh. You know, stats from hotel, Airbnb reservation and web searches, Arkansas eclipse. Well, I would buy the stats from a reservation at a hotel or an Airbnb, but I don't think a web search would qualify as you're coming. You know, I believe Texas gave the exact same number. Of course they did, right? Wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah, because our government told them to. Can you say water cannon? Yeah, Operation Fast and Furious. Exactly what I was thinking. Maybe part of the reason for all the illegals is so that the increase in measles and polios will legit more vaccines. Well, it's interesting that you say that. I don't have this in my presentation tonight, but I'm going to show you guys something. 1 second. Oop, not that one. That one right there. There we go. I didn't know. I did not plan on showing this, but because John had such a good point. Share screen. Window. Here you go. Measles reported at Chicago migrant facility where child died in December. Somebody's beeping me. So apparently, I'm going to go down here. A case of measles has been confirmed at a Chicago migrant facility where a 5-year-old child died from an unknown disease in December. So this just doesn't make sense. Measles reported at Chicago migrant facility where child died in December. A case of measles had been confirmed at the Chicago migrant facility where a 5-year-old child died from unknown disease in December. The shelter is currently housing 1,876 migrants. The young child who was infected has now recovered. Isn't it interesting how they word that? So the child that got measles has recovered, but the headline says measles reported at Chicago migrant facility where child died in December. Isn't that horrible? John, you're all over it tonight, buddy. You're all over it. I'm going to stop sharing. But yes, so I buy it. Greg, the correct statement is 556, not water cannon. Yeah. Ed says all resources, guns and comms. Great point, Ed. Right? Communications, gun, probably, night vision goggles, NBC equipment, maybe. Rome fell because of mass migration. Yeah, Rome fell for a whole bunch of reasons, but that certainly contributed to it. There's more than just measles and polio coming through our borders. Yeah. Kelly says, I guess I need to start making more arrows for our bow. I would. Yeah. Let me see. But measles and polio, the biggest vax in history. Yeah. Let me see. It's already been proven that illegals are bringing in TB, scabies, among others. Geofencing leads to control like the movie Captive State. Yep. Hey, by the way, speaking of movies, I'm going to watch tonight, if I can, I'm going to watch Leave the World Behind tonight for the first time. Because, I don't have Netflix, so I've never watched it. But I have a friend of mine who allowed me a way to watch it. And so I am going to watch it tonight. Not to change the subject, but yeah. All right. What else I got my PowerPoint tonight? Oh, I think I'm kind of closing in. Yeah, hour and 49 minutes. Okay. By the way, I know everybody is concerned over the election. And I know that most people are very convinced that Trump's going to win. At least most of the people that I talk about believe this. Hold on. I got to get to LJC real quick. Our school district has already sent out a letter saying schools are encouraged to compile a list of kids who aren't in compliance with the latest vaccine recommendations. Oh, yeah. I would love to see that letter. Would love to. Helen says polio was made in a lab. Yeah, so was COVID. Anyway, I know everybody's concerned about the election, but I know everyone has great faith that they're not going to steal the election this time, right? And we have to have hope. We have to go to the ballots, right? We have to do those kinds of things. Well, just so you know, Joe Biden leads Donald Trump in 8 polls. Just figured I'd tell you that. 8. We're screwed. We're absolutely screwed. Yeah, I'm going to move to Mexico and open a hot dog stand. Who with me? God, I don't know if that'd be any better or not. But you know what? I do know, Mario, that you know MC Sausage. You know MC Sausage personally, don't you? Is that where you're going to get your hot dogs from? I got to know now. Have you worked you're an entrepreneur. You must have worked some kind of back deal to get some of MC's sausage. If there was any more misdirection, I think Penn and Teller would be in charge. Right. Meat Puppet looks like a banjo kid from Deliverance. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I want to remind you guys that we are going to be going live on Saturday at 3 p.m. from the stage of the Midwest Preparedness Project. And I think I'd really encourage you guys to show up. We're going to have some really cool giveaways, both for the people who are online and for the people that are there in person. But what we're going to do is we're going to tell the story of the community in the Midwest Preparedness Project. And we're going to talk about how it began and how it got to where it was. And so we're going to kind of tell the whole story, but not just me talking about the story, by the people who actually lived it and who lived it along the way. And so I'm super excited about doing it. And again, I hope you guys will be there. Hey, also, don't forget that our friends at the Self-Reliance Festival, you can look them up, have an event coming up in Camden, Tennessee. And I'll tell you guys, I have built a lot of community out of that festival. It's a really, really good place to go if you want to yoke up and meet like-minded people. There are many people in this audience tonight that I met right there from that festival. And the Kentucky Sustainable Living Conference is going on in Bowling Green, Kentucky right now as we speak. It's not too late to head on over there and get a ticket and go and check it out. And in fact, it starts tomorrow. So Bowling Green, Kentucky, and then you've got Camden, Tennessee, and then the Midwest Preparedness Project. Now, obviously, I'm partial to the Midwest Preparedness Project because, well, it's my home, and I've been to all of them and all that good stuff. But, make sure you guys come out and check it out. Hey, one other thing I wanted to tell you guys about, as I mentioned, I did a live with Zach from Unique Prepping and John yesterday. And we're trying to help Zach get enough technology that makes him more efficient at doing his lives and speaking. I've been trying to talk him into doing some speaking at some, festivals and, some of those kind of things. And his challenge is budget. And so we've set a goal out that what we're going to do is we're going to try to help him raise his $1,000 he needs for the equipment so that, he can deal better with, his struggles. And so anyway, if any of you guys are interested, Zach, if you're still in the audience, I'd love it if you put your link tree up, or if people wanted to donate, they could. On his live, when we were over there, I think he raised about 40% of it. We got raised at the first effort, and it was just a lot of 10s and 5s and stuff, right? And so for those of you who did donate to him and did help him, thank you very much for your kindness. And if you can, hook a brother up. Hack said, a lot of folks miss you, Tag. Yeah, well, tell them all I miss them too. Just couldn't do it this time. I spoke at their last one, And they asked me to come back and speak, but I have got just so much going on that I just can't get out. There you go, right there. Okay, everybody got that? I'm going to leave that up there on the screen here for just a little bit. And again, for those of you guys who don't know Unique Prepping, go over there. He is a young man with cerebral palsy who built a YouTube channel, focuses on community a lot, focuses on learning to prep and learning how to be prepared and self-reliant with the struggles that he has. We've grown to be friends. He's a good dude, wears a free man shirt all the time, wears a grid down hat quite often. But I'd love to help him get there. And I'm personally going to help him get there as well, as I know many of you guys have. Zach is the man. Yep, Zach is the man. So blessed by him. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're ever in a bad mood and you ever think that it's hard, go watch Zach. When you're done, if you still think it's hard, there's something wrong with you, because, he does it the absolute hard way. By the way, Bessie says, I'm not going to Mexico. Yeah, I don't blame you. All right. Bessie says, smash the thumbs up button, help a man out. Yeah. Thanks, Bessie. Well, guys, we're about 2 hours. And so, normally about this time of night, I would look at my beautiful bride and I'd ask her, what parting thoughts she have. And, there's so much that's gone on over this last week, and I always talk about love as the easiest of all things, you guys, but practice it, right? Absolute practice that love. If you're sitting across from your loved one, give them love, tell them you love them, tell them they're appreciated, tell them, that you don't take them for granted, and that if they weren't there, that it would matter. And, please do that for me tonight. I promise you, when I'm off this, it's exactly what I'm going to do, because B absolutely matters. So I'm going to leave you guys with these thoughts. You guys know who Jordan Peterson is. Jordan Peterson said, you're going to pay a price for every bloody thing you do, and everything you don't do. You don't get to choose to not pay a price. You get to choose which poison you're going to take. And that's it. Natasha Lynn said, change your job, move to a different city, take a trip, make the choices that scare the hell out of you. That's how you change your life. Well, guys, I want to tell you the exact same thing. Making the change, living a freer life, breaking out of the system, there ain't any of it that's easy. And there are many people who are here in this chat tonight. American Roots Farm is a great example. Hacks for the Homesteader, who are some of the freest people that I know. Mario is in the house. Jen is in the house, right? Unique Prepping, right? Oh my goodness. There's so many great people. The Instigators, another great example. There's a lot of them here, a lot of you guys that can testify to this. But if you let that fear get to you, right, you're never going to be able to make that change. So take Jordan Peterson's advice and know that you're going to pay the price for your good decisions and your bad decisions. And I just encourage all of you guys to hold the line. Don't give a single inch. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Good night, everybody.